Hey crew, it's Pitt and I am back with some more Esoterica. Today we're diving back into the works of Mr. Charles Haanel. This is the Master Key System. We are on part 23. We are reading aloud and discussing as we go along the various points that are brought to light by the text. It's not the format for everyone, but some people seem to find enjoyment in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. Before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in the terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above and the box below, along with the original source material, so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I say the things that I do. With that being said, we are going to dive in and continue our exploration of the Master Key System with part 23. This part tells of the money consciousness and the power which sets the current in motion, which produces the attractive force which opens the doors to the arteries of commerce. It is important to note that wealth and money are not the same thing, and that money and currency are not necessarily the same thing as well. Money is what we define currently as the physical thing that we exchange for our time. You work a job. In order for that time to be compensated for, you receive money. You can use that money to exchange for someone else's time. That is money. Your focus should not be on money. It should be on wealth, which is the accumulation of good things. It is money in part, but it is a family. It is a home. It is land. It is various other things which lead you to the betterment and the fulfillment of your purpose in life. Those are all wealth. That is abundance. You should be focused on that as opposed to, I need money. I need money is a generally negative way to look at it. And as we have discussed all the way through here, that what you focus on is what you attract, and attracting money by itself is generally going to be negative, and you will receive negative results. You'll get the money, but you will lose your family. You will get the money, or you will lose your happiness. That is how that's going to work. It is part of the laws. It tells how the current is stopped or completely reversed and turned away from us. It tells how money is woven into the outer fabric of our existence, why it engages the best thought of the best minds. That is, again, almost entirely untrue. Right? The best thought of the best minds is not turned towards money. How we make money, how to recognize opportunity, that, however, is. How to make a money magnet of yourself, how to get the necessary insight to perceive and utilize opportunities, how to recognize values, how to convert an idea into an income, how to make a direct connection with the universal mind, how to secure practical results. In fact, it is tell us what the only really practical thing is. Introduction, Part 23. In this part, you will find that money weaves itself into the entire fabric of our existence. That is true. That the law of success is service. That is true, although the law of success is not a law. That we get what we give, and for this reason we should consider it a great privilege to be able to give. That is the law of returns. We have found that thought is the creative activity behind every constructive enterprise. We can, therefore, give nothing of more practical value than our thought. That is true. Creative thought requires attention, and the power of attention is, as we have found, the weapon of the Superman. Attention develops concentration, and concentration develops spiritual power, and spiritual power is the mightiest force in existence. This is the science which embraces all sciences. It is the art which, above all arts, is relevant to human life. It is the mastery of this science and this art. There is opportunity for unending progression. Perfection in this is not acquired in 6 days or in 6 weeks or in 6 months. It is the labor of a life. Not to go forward is to go backwards. It is inevitable, and the entertainment of positive construction and unselfish thoughts should have a far-reaching effect for good. Compensation is the keynote of the universe. Nature is constantly seeking to strike an equilibrium. Where something is set out, something must be received, lest there should be a vacuum formed. By observance of this rule, you cannot fail to profit in such measure as amply to justify your effort along this line. Part 23. The money consciousness is an attitude of mind. It is the open door to the arteries of commerce. It is the receptive attitude. Desire is the attractive force which sets in motion, and fear is the great obstacle by which the current is stopped or completely reversed, turned away from us. And abundance consciousness, like I would substitute abundance consciousness for this simply because money is a means to an end. It is a handy tool, but it should not be the end. It is the receptive attitude. Desire is the attractive force which sets the current in motion, and fear is the great obstacle by which the current is stopped. That I agree with. Fear is just the opposite from money consciousness, and again, that would be abundance consciousness. It is poverty consciousness. And as the law is unchangeable, we get exactly what we give. If we fear, we get what we feared. That is the law of attraction. Money weaves itself into the entire fabric of our existence. It engages the best thoughts of the best minds. It is not in the entire fabric of your existence. There are things which exist outside of money. Love, for instance, is one of those things. If your love is centered around money, it is not love. It is a useful relationship, hopefully, but probably not. It is probably built upon dependence, and dependence is always a fear-based thing. So that is a negative attraction right there. Love is the overriding force in most things, and it is completely independent of money in the best circumstances. There are people very much in love who live in a cardboard box. Now, that's not to say that they're in the best condition, but it does exist without the money issue. Money should never be the center of what you are doing. That is the long and the short of it. There is many more explanations that we have given along the way, but it comes back down to what you put out multiplied by your intentions, right? If you're putting out the energy and you're multiplying it by money, you're going to get some money, but you're not going to gain the other things of abundance. Focus on abundance and the money will come. The money will help you to manifest the abundance. Focus on the abundance, not on the money. And again, it does not engage the best thoughts of the best minds either. Right? Do they think about it? Yeah, sure. But the best minds, they're working on the problem. They're working on fixing whatever the problem is. Their intention is to fix the problem. Sometimes money is the answer to that, but not often. Most of the time, it takes an idea. It takes someone with an altruistic idea. I want to eliminate cancer, so I'm going to devote my time to researching how to eliminate cancer. And yes, money will come from that, but that is not the focus of that. Successful people who are also happy aren't focused on money. You can take this striking difference between Elon Musk and Jeff, or what's the other guy, the fat chubby one from the Shark Tank. I can't remember his name, but he's not a happy fellow. Mark Cuban, that's his name. He's extremely rich. He's got a lot of money. People would call him successful, but he's not. He's a miserable human being. He exudes miserableness every time you see him. Elon Musk exudes joy. He is focused on the problem. He is trying to fix a problem, and yes, there's money involved, but that's not the focus. He wants to go to space. He's working on fixing that problem, and money is a part of it. He wants to dig holes in the ground. He created a whole company for that. That is to solve a problem, not for money. The focus needs to be correct. If you are focusing wrong, you will manifest wrong. Keep that in mind. That is a big mistake that they made back here in this particular time period, because for a long period of time, most of the money was tied up in other people. It is much more free-flowing these days. More people have risen out of poverty in the last 100 years than have in the last 1,000, right? Or the prior 1,000. So just bear in mind, the motivation is extremely important. Like extremely. And I emphasize that with an extra syllable, right? We make money by making friends. And we enlarge our circle of friends by making money for them, by helping them, by being of service to them. That is in part true, right? It is a beneficial relationship, and therefore the money will come. But that, again, it should not be a focus. The first law of success, then, is service. And this, in turn, is built on integrity and justice. The man who at least is not fair in his intention is simply ignorant. He has missed the fundamental law of all exchange. He is impossible. He will lose, surely and certainly. He may not know it, he may think he is winning, but he is doomed to certain defeat. He cannot cheat the infinite. The law of compensation will demand of him an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. The forces of life are volatile. They are composed of our thoughts and ideals, and these in turn are molded into form. Our problem is to keep an open mind, to constantly reach out for the new, to recognize opportunity, to be interested in the race rather than the goal. For the pleasure is in the pursuit rather than the possession. Sir, could you quit with contradicting yourself? Right? You're telling people to focus on the money, and then you're like, oh, well, don't do that. Right? Be focused on the goal. Yes, the goal. Focus on being of service. Yes, absolutely. The money will come. Don't focus on the money. He's telling you to focus on the money, and then he's telling you not to. You can make a money magnet of yourself, but to do so you must first consider how you can make money for other people. If you have the necessary insight to perceive and utilize opportunities and propitious conditions and recognize values, you can put yourself in position to take advantage of them. But your greatest success will come as you are enabled to assist others. What benefits one must benefit all. That is, again, not true. A generous, if you are focused on benefiting others, then it will, right? But you can be focused on benefiting yourself, and you will get that. See the above example with Mark Cuban, right? He is focused on doing what is best for him. He makes no bones about that, and he has bore those fruits. Other people are trying to do it for other people, and therefore they bear different fruit. What benefits one must not benefit all. Some people definitely are not in it for your best interest. A generous thought is filled with strength and vitality. A selfish thought contains the germs of dissolution. It will disintegrate and pass away. Great financiers like Morgan, Rothschild, and others are simply channels for the distribution of wealth. I don't know how well they distributed that wealth. Enormous amounts come and go, but it would be as dangerous to stop the outgo as the income. Both ends must remain open, and so our greatest success will come as we recognize that it is just as essential to give as to get. Now, this is one of my goals, right? We haven't talked in this study, but we talk often. This channel has goals, right? What I do here is laying groundwork for me to be able to do other things. One of those things is I want to build a store. And I want that store to employ people from a school that I also want to build. And so it is a multi-layered thing, but what I am working for is to finance a school by myself. I have intellectual property that I'm developing. I have a game that's on the wall over here. And I have this idea for a store that is nothing like another store on the planet. It is a lot different. It has potential, right? But the potential for those things are not to make money, but to give money away. It is to be able to finance this school and just spit the money away. Do I need money for myself? Absolutely. I want to be able to pay my bills on time without having to think about it too hard. That would be wonderful. I would be able to go out and buy new clothes when I needed to do things. That would be very handy. But that's not the goal. The goal is to affect change in the world. That's the goal. I want to take people and help them to educate themselves into being better people, much like we do here. I want to do that in person with people. I want to spend my own money that I make from my own efforts on that. That is the goal. to give away the money, not to accumulate it. And so this is partly true. Now, Morgan and Rothschild, those are some severely bad examples for that particular thing. Were they charitable? Yeah. Did they play with the roles a lot? Probably so. But they definitely reaped. They definitely reaped. If we recognize the omnipotent power that is the source of all supply, we will adjust our consciousness to this supply in such a way that it will constantly attract all that is necessary to itself, and we shall find that the more we give, the more we get. Giving, in this sense, implies service. The banker gives his money, the merchant his goods, the author gives his thought, the workman gives his skill. All have something to give, but the more they can give, the more they get. And the more they get, the more they are enabled to give. The financier gets much because he gives much. He thinks. He is seldom a man that lets anyone else do his thinking for him. He wants to know how results are to be secured. You must show him. When you can do this, he will furnish the means by which hundreds or thousands may profit. And in proportion as they are successful, will he be successful. Morgan, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Rothschild, and others did not get rich because they lost money for other people. They didn't get it by giving it away either. On the contrary, it is because they made money for other people that they became the wealthiest men on the wealthiest countries on the globe. These particular people are the reasons we have unions, right? These particular people were the epitome of not providing correctly for your employees. Like, at least 3 out of the 4 were directly involved with the oppression of people. So, yeah, there's that to consider. The average person is entirely innocent of any deep thinking. That is true. He accepts the ideas of others and repeats them in very much the same way as a parrot. This is readily seen when we understand the method which is used to form public opinion, and this docile attitude on the part of the large majority, who seem perfectly willing to let a few persons do all of their thinking for them, is what enables a few men in a great many countries to usurp all the avenues of power and hold the millions in subjection. Creative thinking requires attention. See the 4 names listed above, right? The power of attention is called concentration. This power is directed by the will. For this reason, we must refuse to concentrate or think of anything except the thing we desire. Many are constantly concentrating upon sorrow, loss, and discord of every kind. As thought is creative, it necessarily follows that this concentration inevitably leads to more loss, more sorrow, and more discord. How could it be otherwise? On the other hand, when we meet with success, gain, or any other desirable condition, we naturally concentrate upon the effects of these things and thereby create more. So it follows that much leads to more. How an understanding of this principle can be utilized in the business world is well told by Mr. Atkinson in Advanced Thought. He says, Spirit, whatever else it may or may not be, must be considered as the essence of consciousness, the substance of mind, the reality underlying thought. And all ideas are phases of the activity of consciousness, mind, or thought. It follows that in spirit, and in it alone, is to be found the ultimate fact, the real thing, or idea. Yeah. This being admitted, does it not seem reasonable to hold that a true understanding of spirit and its laws of manifestation would be about the most practical thing that a practical person can hope to find? Hence this study. Does it not seem certain that if the practical men of the world could but realize this fact, they would fall all over themselves in getting to the place in which they might obtain such knowledge of spiritual things and laws? These men are not fools. They need only to grasp this fundamental fact in order to move in the direction of that which is the essence of all achievement. This particular part right here is why I even bother praying for abundance. There is a certain amount of people that will never be convinced unless there is this external show, right? I can talk all day long about how I have healed my throat and how I healed my shoulder and how other things are currently healing, but that is not something that most people are going to take as an authority. What they're going to require is that I have the success, right? That I have the money. And so part of the abundance process will be that I will receive this money, that I will give it away. The focus is not on the money, but it is upon that which the money can acquire. Because if I have the money, then people will listen. People listen to stupid people because they have money. And if you don't believe that, you've never watched a single episode of the Kardashians. Now, I haven't either. I've only seen clips and things of that nature. But everything that I have ever seen come out of that entire family is dumb. Like, they've been successful. They got money, so they're not idiots. But they believe foolish things. They act in foolish ways. They are not good human beings, right? In my subjective reasoning. They're on their own lessons. They have their own paths, but their happiness has not been manifested in that at all. I need the abundance to prove to the doubters. That's the only reason I really want it. I'm fine living under a tree. It's not going to be the most comfortable, but I can live with it. I can do it. I need that so that I can show other people. That's why I pray for that. I don't even, like, if I get 100 acres, that's cool. If I get an acre, that's fine. If I don't have anything, that's fine as well. I am willing to go wherever the Spirit brings me. But I do believe, right? I do believe that the end result will be the success so that I can show other people, hey, this process does work. Let me give you a concrete example. I know a man whom I had always considered to be quite materialistic. He had made several successes in life and also several failures. The last time I had a talk with him, he was practically down and out, as compared with his former business condition. It looked as if he had indeed reached the end of his rope, for he was well advanced into the stage of middle age, and new ideas came more slowly and less frequently to him than in former years. He said to me, in substance, I know that all things that work out in business are the result of thought. Any fool knows that. Just now, I seem to be short of thoughts and good ideas. But if this all-mind teaching is correct, there should be possible to the individual the attainment of direct connection with infinite mind. And in infinite mind, there must be the possibility of all kinds of good ideas, which a man of my courage and experience could put into practical use in the business world and make a big success of. It looks good to me, and I am going to look into it. Now, again, I have several ideas that I am working on, so. This was about 2 years ago. The other day I heard of this man again, talking to a friend. I said, what has become of our old friend, X? Has he ever got on his feet again? The friend looked at me in amazement. Why, said he, don't you know about his great success? He is the big man in the blank company. He named a concern which has made a phenomenal success during the last 18 months and is now well known by reason of its advertisements from one end of the country to another and also abroad. He is the man who supplied the big idea for that concern. Why, he is about $500,000 to the good and is moving rapidly towards the million mark, all in the space of 18 months. I had not connected this man with the enterprise mentioned, although I knew of the wonderful success of the company in question. Investigation has shown that the story is true, and that the above stated facts are not exaggerated in the slightest. Now, what do you make of that? To me, it means that this man actually made the direct connection with infinite mind, Spirit, the Holy Spirit, God, and having found it, he set it to work for him. He used it in his business. Does this sound sacrilegious or blasphemous? I hope not. I do not mean it to be so. Take away the implication of personality or magnified human nature from the conception of the infinite, and you have left the conception of an infinite presence, power, the quintessence of which is consciousness, in fact, at the last, spirit. As this man, also at the last, must be considered as a manifestation of spirit, there is nothing sacrilegious in the idea that he, being spirit, should so harmonize himself with his origin and source that he would be able to manifest at least a minor degree of its power. All of us do this, more or less, when we use our minds in the direction of creative thought. This man did more. He went about it in an intensely practical manner. I have not consulted him about his method of procedure, though I intend doing so at the first opportunity, but he not only drew upon the infinite supply for the ideas which he needed and which formed the seed of his success, but he also used the creative power of thought in building up for himself an idealistic pattern of that which he hoped to manifest in material form, adding thereto, changing, improving its detail from time to time, proceeding from the general outline to the finished detail. I judge this to be the facts of the case, not alone from my recollection of the conversation 2 years ago, but also because I have found the same thing to be true in the cases of other prominent men who have made similar manifestations of creative thought. Those who may shrink from this idea of employing the infinite power to aid a man in his work in the material world should remember that if the infinite objected in the least to such a procedure, the thing could never happen. The infinite is quite able to take care of itself. Spirituality is quite practical, very practical, intensely practical. It teaches that spirit is the real thing, the whole thing, and that matter is but plastic stuff, which spirit is able to create, mold, manipulate, and fashion to its will. Spirituality is the most practical thing in the world, the only really and absolutely practical thing that there is. Now, concentrate on the fact that man is not a body with a spirit, but a spirit with a body, and that it is for this reason that his desires are incapable of any permanent satisfaction in anything not spiritual. Money is therefore of no value, except to bring about the conditions which we desire, and these conditions are necessarily harmonious. Harmonious conditions necessitate sufficient supply, so that if there appears to be any lack, we should realize that the idea, or soul of money, is service, and as this thought takes form, channels of supply will be opened, and you will have the satisfaction of knowing that spiritual methods are entirely practical. Part 23 questions. What is the first law of success? Service. How may we be of the most service? By having an open mind. By being interested in the race rather than the goal, in the pursuit rather than possession. What is the result of a selfish thought? It contains the germs of dissolution. How will our greatest success be achieved? By a recognition of the fact that it is just as essential to give as to receive. Why do great organizers meet with great success? Because they do their own thinking. Why do the great majority in every country remain the docile and apparently willing tools of the few? Because they let the few do all of their thinking for them. That is true, so very true. What is the effect of concentrating upon sorrow and loss? More sorrow and loss. What is the effect of concentrating upon gain? More gain. Is this principle used in the business world? It is the only principle which is ever used, or ever could be used. There is no other principle. The fact that it may be used unconsciously does not alter or change the situation. What is the practical result of this principle? Success, which is an effect, not a cause. If we wish to secure any effect, we must ascertain the cause or idea or thought by which the effect is created. We have discovered that premeditated, orderly thinking for a purpose matures that purpose into fixed form, so that we may be absolutely sure of the results of our dynamic experiment. Francis Larimer Warner. And we are going to go ahead and go straight into section 24, because that one was rather short and I don't have a whole lot to add other than what I've already added. The focus should be on the abundance of God and not on the money itself. All the rest of it holds true if you swap that out. Part 24. This part explains the entire theory and practice of every system of metaphysics. It tells how to express harmony, how to express health, how to express abundance. It explains the nature of all conditions and how they may be changed or removed. It explains how every difficulty, no matter what it is or where it is, can be removed or dissolved. It explains the only way in which this is ever done or can be done. It also tells of a master key, by which those who are wise enough to understand, broad enough to weigh the evidence, firm enough to follow their own judgment, and strong enough to make this sacrifice exacted, may enter and partake. Introduction, Part 24. This is the final part. If you have practiced each of the exercises a few minutes every day, as suggested, you will have found that you can get out of life exactly what you wish by first putting into life that which you wish, and you will probably agree with the adept who said, "The master key thought is almost overwhelming. It is so vast, so unavailable, so available, so definite, so reasonable, and so usable." The fruit of this knowledge is, as it were, a gift to the gods. It is the truth that makes men free. Not only free from every lack and limitation, but free from sorrow, worry, and care. Is it not wonderful to realize that omnipotent law is no respecter of persons? That it makes no difference what your past habit of thought may have been? The way has been prepared. If you are inclined to be religious, the greatest religious teacher in the world has ever known made the way so plain that all may follow. If your mental bias is towards physical science, the law will operate with mathematical certainty. If you are inclined to be philosophical, Plato or Emerson may be your teacher. But in each case, you may, by the master key, reach degrees of power to which it is impossible to assign any limit. I don't think this word is meant to be there. An understanding of the master key, I believe, is the secret for which the ancient alchemists vainly sought, because it explains how gold in the mind may be transmuted into gold in the heart and in the hand. We've already talked about the part that the alchemists were missing in the other playlists. Part 24. When the scientists first put the sun in the center of the solar system and sent the earth spinning around it, there was immense surprise and consternation. The whole idea was self-evidently false. Nothing was more certain than the movement of the sun across the sky, and anyone could see it descend behind the western hills and sink into the sea. Scholars raged, and scientists rejected the idea as absurd. Yet the evidence has finally carried conviction in the minds of all. If only that was true. There are still people that believe in the flat earth. We speak of a bell as a sounding body, yet we knew that all the bell can do is produce vibrations in the air. When these vibrations come at the rate of 16 a second, they cause a sound to be heard in the mind. It is possible for the mind to hear vibrations at the rate of 38,000 a second. When the number increases beyond this, all is silence again, so that we know that the sound is not in the bell, it is in our own mind. We've discussed that already. We speak and even think of the sun as giving light, yet we know it is simply giving forth energy which produces vibrations in the ether at the rate of 400 trillion a second, causing what are termed light waves, so that we know that what we call light is simply a form of energy, and that the only light there is the sensation caused by the mind, in the mind, by the motion of the waves. When the number increases, the light changes in color, each change in color being caused by shorter and more rapid vibrations, so that although we speak of the rose as being red, the grass as being green, or the sky as being blue, we know that the colors exist only in our minds, and are the sensations experienced by us as the result of vibrations of light waves. When the vibrations are reduced below 400 trillion a second, they no longer affect us as light, but we experience the sensation of heat. It is evident, therefore, that we cannot depend upon the evidence of the senses for our information concerning the realities of things. If we did, we should believe that the sun moved, that the world was flat instead of round, that the stars were a bit of light instead of vast suns. The whole range, then, of the theory and practice of any system of metaphysics consist in knowing the truth concerning yourself and the world in which you live, in knowing that in order to express harmony, you must think harmony. In order to express health, you must think health. And in order to express abundance, you must think abundance. To do this, you must reverse the evidence of the senses. When you come to know that every form of disease, sickness, lack, and limitation are simply the result of wrong thinking, you will have come to know the truth which shall make you free. You will see how mountains may be removed. If these mountains consist only of doubt, fear, distrust, or other forms of discouragement, they are nonetheless real, and they need not only to be removed, but to be cast into the sea. That is a vast misrepresentation of what was said in that particular scripture. So, your real work consists in conceiving yourself of the truth of these statements. When you have succeeded in doing this, you will have no difficulty in thinking the truth, and, as has been shown, the truth contains a vital principle and will manifest itself. Those who heal diseases by mental methods have come to know this truth. They demonstrate it in their lives and in the lives of others daily. They know that life, health, and abundance are omnipresent, filling all space, and they know that those who allow disease or lack of any kind to manifest has yet not come to an understanding of this great law. As all conditions are thought creations and therefore entirely mental, disease and lack are simply mental conditions in which the person fails to perceive the truth. As soon as the error is removed, the condition is removed. The method for removing this error is to go into the silence and know the truth. The silence is meditation. As all mind is one mind, you can do this for yourself or anyone else. If you have learned to form mental images and the conditions desired, this will be the easiest and quickest way to secure results. If not, results can be accomplished by argument, by the process of convincing yourself absolutely of the truth of your statement. We have stated all the way through this particular study that you do not have to visualize. It is a useful tool, I am sure, but I don't have it. I have been able to do the things without being able to visualize anything. So, what he is saying here is true, right? You can convince yourself and change it. You can focus on the positive and change your mindset. You can conceptualize what you want and hold it just as you would the visualization and do the same thing. But it does take concentration. Remember, and this is one of the most difficult as well as the most wonderful statements to grasp. Remember that no matter what the difficulty is, no matter where it is, no matter who it is affected, you have no patient but yourself. You have nothing to do but to convince yourself of the truth which you desire to see manifested. This is an exact scientific statement in accordance with every system of metaphysics in existence, and no permanent results are ever secured in any other way. That is in large part true, right? We have talked about the bottlenecks already. I'm not going to hit it too hard, but there are circumstances which you have no control over, only your reaction to them. And also, we have spoken before, and we will again in other studies, about how your main focus should be changing yours, right? Your conditions, your energy, your mindset, setting down in prayer, fasting, and meditation. And you can do those things for other people, but you can't really affect their life. They have their choices. They have their lessons to learn. You can, with consent, do things for them. You can help them with healing. You can do things of that nature. You can ground them. But it should always be a consensual thing, and it is not going to be as effective as them doing it themselves. That is a certainty. Every form of concentration, forming mental images, argument, and autosuggestion are all simply methods by which you are enabled to realize the truth. If you desire to help someone, to destroy some form of lack, limitation, or error, the correct method is not to think of the person whom you wish to help. The intention to help them is entirely sufficient, as this puts you in mental touch with the person. Then drive out of your own mind any belief of lack, limitation, disease, danger, difficulty, or whatever the trouble might be. As soon as you have succeeded in doing this, the result will have been accomplished, and the person will be free. And again, that one's not as true, right? You can make some adjustments to other people, but it is always necessary to be consent, and it will always be less effective, and you will not accomplish it without their express involvement totally. It will not happen. You will not free someone else from chains simply by wishing it to be so. They have to take the steps themselves. That is a certainty. But remember that thought is creative, and consequently, every time you allow your thoughts to rest on any harmonious condition, you must realize that such conditions are apparent only. They have no reality. That spirit is the only reality, and it can never be less than perfect. That is true. Right? Even misalignment serves purpose that makes it perfect. Even though you may not consider it perfect, it is still perfect in the plan. All thought is a form of energy, a rate of vibration. But a thought of the truth is the highest rate of vibration known, and consequently destroys every form of error in exactly the same way that light destroys darkness. We have talked about truth being vitally important. I mean, you can manifest in truth, untruth, but it is not that effective. No form of error can exist when the truth appears, so that your entire mental work consists in coming to an understanding of the truth. This will enable you to overcome every form of lack, limitation, or disease of any kind. We can get no understanding of the truth from the world without. The world without is relative only. Truth is absolute. We must, therefore, find it in the world within. To train the mind to see truth only is to express true conditions only. Our ability to do this will be an indication of the progress we are making. The absolute truth is that the I is perfect and complete. The real I is spiritual and can therefore never be less than perfect. It can never have any lack, limitation, or disease. The flash of genius does not have origin in the molecular motion of the brain. It is inspired by the ego, the spiritual I, which is one with the universal mind, or God, and it is our ability to recognize this unity which is the cause of all inspiration, all genius. These results are far-reaching and have effect upon generations yet to come. They are the pillars of fire which mark the path that millions follow. Truth is not the result of logical training or of experimentation, or even of observation. It is the product of a developed consciousness. Truth within a Caesar manifests in a Caesar's deportment, in his life, in his action, his influence upon social forms and progress. Your life and your actions and your influence in the world will depend upon the degree of truth which you are enabled to perceive, for truth will not manifest in creeds, but in conduct. Truth manifests in character, and the character of a man should be the interpretation of his religion, or what to him is the truth, and this will, in turn, be evidenced in the character of his possessions. If a man complains of the drift of his fortune, he is just as unjust to himself as if he should deny rational truth, though it stand patent and irrefutable. Our environment and the innumerable circumstances and accidents of our lives already exist in the subconscious personality, which attracts to itself the mental and physical material, which is congenial to its nature. Thus is our future being determined from our present, and if there should be apparent injustice in any feature or phase of our personal life, we must look within for the cause, try to discover the mental fact which is responsible for the outward manifestation. It is this truth which makes you free, and it is the conscious knowledge of this truth which will enable you to overcome every difficulty. The conditions with which you meet in the world without are invariably the results of the conditions obtaining in the world within. Therefore, it follows with scientific accuracy that by holding the perfect ideal in mind, you can bring about ideal conditions in your environment. If you see only the incomplete, the imperfect, the relative, the limited, these conditions will manifest in your life, But if you train your mind to see and realize the spiritual ego, the I, which is forever perfect and complete, harmonious, wholesome, and healthful conditions only will be manifested. As thought is creative, and the truth is the highest and most perfect thought which anyone can think, it is self-evident that to think the truth is to create that which is true. And it is again evident that when the truth comes into being, that which is false must cease to be. The universal mind is the totality of all mind which is in existence. Spirit is mind, because spirit is intelligent. The words are, therefore, synonymous. The difficulty with which you have to contend is to realize that mind is not individual. It is omnipresent. It exists everywhere. In other words, there is no place where it is not. It is therefore universal. Men have, heretofore, generally used the word God to indicate this universal creative principle. But the word God does not convey the right meaning. Most people understand this word to mean something outside of themselves, while exactly the contrary is the fact. It is our very life. Without it, we would be dead. We would cease to exist. The minute the spirit leaves the body, we are as nothing. Therefore, spirit is really all there is of us. And again, this is where I differ, right? God is all things. He is me, He is you, He is the space between me and you and the space between me and you. Or the space between me and you. He is everything you can see and touch and everything that you cannot. He is not incorporated within Himself, but He is the every single atom and the space between every single atom. He is the entirety of all things. So, yes. But we, as the soul, are the individualized piece of God. That part is immortal. The temple is not. So, when the spirit or the soul leaves the body, the temple goes away, but you don't. You're not the temple. You are the soul. There is a difference there. It is important. Now, the only activity which the spirit possesses is the power to think. Therefore, thought must be creative because spirit is creative. This creative power is impersonal, and your ability to think is your ability to control it and make use of it for benefit of yourself and others. When the truth of this statement is realized, understood, and appreciated, you will have come into possession of the master key. But remember, only those who are wise enough to understand, broad enough to weigh the evidence, firm enough to follow their own judgment, and strong enough to make the sacrifice exacted, may enter and partake. Now, try to realize that this is truly a wonderful world in which we live, that you are a wonderful being, and that many are awakening to a knowledge of the truth, and as fast as they awake and come into a knowledge of the things which have been prepared for them, they too realize that for them, previously, eye hath not seen nor ear heard, neither hath it entered into the heart of man, the splendor which exists for those who find themselves in the promised land. They have crossed the river of judgment and have arrived at the point of discrimination between the true and false, and have found that all they ever willed or dreamed was but a faint concept of the dazzling reality. Though an inheritance of acres may be bequeathed, an inheritance of knowledge and wisdom cannot. A wealthy man may pay others for doing his work for him, but it is impossible to get his thinking done for him by another, or to purchase any kind of self-culture. S. Smiles. Part 24. Questions. Upon what principle does the theory and practice of every system of metaphysics in existence depend? Upon a knowledge of the truth concerning yourself and the world in which you live. What is the truth concerning yourself? The real I, or ego, is spiritual, and can therefore never be less than perfect. What is the method of destroying any form of error? To absolutely convince yourself of the truth concerning the condition which you wish to see manifested. Can we do this for others? The universal mind in which we live and move and have our being is one and indivisible. It is therefore just as possible to help others as to help ourselves, and I do not agree with that. What is the universal mind? the totality of all mind in existence. Where is the universal mind? The universal mind is omnipresent. It exists everywhere. There is no place where it is not. It is therefore within us. It is the world within. It is our spirit, our life. What is the nature of the universal mind? It is spiritual and consequently creative. It seeks to express itself in form. How may we act on the universal mind? Our ability to think is our ability to act on the universal mind and bring it into manifestation for the benefit of ourselves or others. What is meant by thinking? Clear, decisive, calm, deliberate, sustained thought with a definite end in view. What will be the result? You will be able to say, "It is not I that doeth the works, but the Father that dwelleth within me. He doeth the works." That's what I say all the time, right? Y'all know that. You will come to know that the Father is the universal mind and that He does really and truly dwell within you. In other words, you will come to know that the wonderful promises made in the Bible are fact, not fiction, and can be demonstrated by anyone having sufficient understanding. And that is where I'm going to refer you to the Unconventional Bible Study. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a couple of rather serious topics. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs and that I have a tendency to step on toes whenever I convey those. It is not intentional, but I do not apologize for it. I am here to reveal. I am here to tell, not to convince. The ending right here, the Bible is fact, not fiction, that is not truth. We have 161 videos where we went through that in quite extensive detail and showed several reasons that you probably shouldn't believe that. You are free to continue believing that. My way is not the only way, but I do serve God in fully, eternally, however you want to look at it. Right? I tell you all of the time, prayer, fasting, and meditation. Pray to God. Be thankful. Right? First and foremost, give thanks for what you have, then ask for what you desire. Fasting allows you to prepare to hear back, and meditation, or the silence as he calls it, is when you allow that to happen, when the inspiration can come that will lead to the abundance. Your focus is infinitely important. The 8 laws of creation will give you a better understanding of why that is so, but it breaks down to your energy invested multiplied by your intentions. And if your intentions are money, that is a greedy motivation. That is not the balance between the two virtues and vices, right? There are 7 virtues and vices, and you are meant to walk in the middle of them, not to the extreme of either edge. By focusing on abundance opposed to money, you will call in money along with the other things. The other things are the more important part of it. The money is a facilitator. It is a tool. And while tools are handy, they're not always necessary. Sometimes there are extra steps that are added to that don't really make a difference. Hopefully I brought a little bit of clarity, right? The things that I have talked about, I have used. It is not me just reading something and talking. It is me conveying to you, according to the topics that are brought to light, the experience that I have. I can't give you my experience. I can only relay it. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to tell you. The things that I have said in this study have worked for me, in particular, in healing myself. And so, take it how you want it. If you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment if you agree or disagree. If it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. If there is another work that you would like to see me work through in the same way that we have done here, let me know in the comments as well. I am making a list. If you really like what I'm doing, hit me with that super thanks. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Take. Peace.